Why hello there. After watching the Blasphemous 2 reveal trailer, so good, I went to Steam to wishlist the game. On the Steam page's description, I read that Blasphemous 2 takes place in a strange new land, displaced from the Penitent One's final resting place, and that it was oozing with gothic charm. I wondered if that meant that Blasphemous 2, by moving on from Custodia, might also be moving on from Andalusian culture that, for me, is at the very heart of what made Blasphemous 1 so unique and charming. And maybe you've wondered the same. Well, we of little faith have nothing to fear. Taking another look at the trailer, Blasphemous 2 is still a Spanish-inspired hellscape. Let me break down for you all the Spanish goodness I found in the reveal trailer. Let's get into it. First off, I want to give a shout out to Javier Prado on Twitter, who posted a thread that not only helped confirm some of what I'd noticed, but also pointed out some Spanish locales and folklore that I would not have recognized otherwise. You can find the thread linked in the description below. To start things off, in this shot we see a large cathedral in the background. It is pretty much a one-to-one pixel recreation of the Cadiz Cathedral. It is a Baroque-style cathedral built between 1722 and 1838 during the golden age of the Andalusian city of Cadiz, when it gained exclusive trade rights for the Americas from Seville. However, I wouldn't extrapolate from this that this new land is necessarily intended to be Cadiz, as Custodia is to Seville, as we will see that there is plenty of Seville locales stepping up to inspire the areas of Blasphemous 2. And this next reference is one such example. In this shot we see archways in the background. This was pointed out by Javier Prado in his thread that this appears to be referencing the Plaza de España in Seville, and I have to agree. The design in this background is very reminiscent of the colonnade of the pavilion. The plaza is a mix of Baroque Revival and Moorish Revival styles, built in 1928 for the Ibero-American Exposition of 1929. This was a World's Fair held to improve relations between Spain and the attending countries, which all had colonial and political ties with Spain. In addition to the colonnade design, I also noticed that the design of the pilasters is very similar to those found on the interior of the pavilion. Hello, editing Sean interjecting here quickly to explain for those who may not be familiar what Moorish architecture is and the significance. Moorish architecture is a Western Islamic style of architecture that has a blend with some Christian architectural styles such as Romanesque and Gothic. And the significance here is that when we see Moorish architecture within Europe, it is most prominently found in Andalusia, and as a result, when we see Moorish architecture in the game, it is indicating that it is being culturally situated in the southern region of Spain as opposed to other areas of Europe. Back to the video. In the foreground there is also another Moorish inspired design featuring mosaic tile on the wall and base of the column. I couldn't track down a specific building for this, but the design is so detailed and unique enough that it seems like it could be from a particular locale. If you have an idea of what the inspiration for this design could be, let me know in the comments. This next bit of inspiration is from a famous Spanish painting with a pretty tragic backstory. We see this squat lady in a red dress throwing what appear to be chandeliers at us like they're tops. This design, minus the chandelier, is very similar to this portrait of Eugenia Martinez Vallejo painted by Juan Carreno de Miranda. Eugenia was born in a small village in Spain. She quickly became very large due to a condition that is now believed to be Prader-Willi syndrome. This was unknown at the time, however, and word spread quickly about this gigantic child. She drew so much attention that she was summoned to Madrid by Charles II to see her for himself. In a pretty messed up turn of events, he made Eugenia a jester to amuse his court with her size. Charles II also commissioned Juan Carreno de Miranda to paint the now famous portrait of Eugenia that served as a basis for this enemy. I only hope that Charles II makes it into Blasphemous 2 and is treated as well as he treated Eugenia. In this next scene, the background features Moorish architecture, with the horseshoe arches of the stairs and the openings as a notably common design for Moorish-style arches in Islamic architecture more broadly. In this detailed background, we can see the skyline of Baroque churches and towers. While there is nothing definitive, this is reminiscent to me of the Granada skyline, which is also populated with Baroque churches and towers as well. To be fair, this is also true of other Andalusian skylines, so it might just be leaning broadly into that aspect of the cities of southern Spain. Here we see not a Spanish inspiration, but an American one in the form of Bernie Sanders. In this display of combat, we see Penitente facing off against another penitent, also featuring the signature-shaped garb of the Andalusian penitents. And fun fact, this is a cut boss from Blasphemous 1, so it looks like the Penitente isn't the only one getting another chance in the sequel. In addition to the penitent in this scene, we can also see Moorish-style architecture in the background. This next reference is a bit of neat Spanish culture that I was totally unaware of. In his thread, Javier Prado pointed out that this enemy adorned with a pan flute and sharpening a blade looks to be a Spanish knife sharpener. This is a profession that still exists in small numbers in Spain, and, you guessed it, they sharpen knives. To let people know they're around and open for business, the knife sharpeners will sometimes play pan flute. It's like the ice cream truck jingle but for sharpening knives. Here you can see the ruins of an aqueduct in the background. I saw this mentioned by a few people that this structure looks very similar to the Aqueduct of the Miracles in Merida, Spain. What an appropriate name for a Blasphemous inspiration. And this was actually confirmed by Blasphemous 2 artist Jesus Campos on Twitter, who said that he was inspired by the Aqueduct of the Miracles when he visited Merida. This next reference is one mentioned on the Blasphemous subreddit by user KnuckleLouis6. Here we see Penitente before a large Christ-like figure who has holes in his hand, head, and back with gold flowing out of him. This is believed to be a reference to the Christ of Honey, and it's a pretty wild story. At the San Fernando Cemetery in Seville, there is a large sculpture called the Christ of Cecilio. The creator was Antonio Cecilio, who was banking on this commission to get himself out of some serious debt accrued by his wife. As fate would have it, he realized upon finishing it that he had sculpted the legs backwards and shot himself in despair, and he was buried under the statue. Kind of ironic. That summer, the bronze statue began to drip honey out of its eyes. The Vatican was called, everyone thought it was a miracle. However, it turns out that Cecilio had made some of the bronze statue hollow to reduce the weight, and bees had taken up residence. Boiled in the bronze by the hot Seville sun, the honey ran out of the eyes of the statue, and the sculpture became known as the Christ of Honey. Here we see the penitent one standing in front of a fountain. One of the more easily recognizable inspirations, the Court of the Lions fountain at the Alhambra is a pretty clear source of inspiration. Besides the fountain, we can also see a multifoil archway above and windows in the back that take clear inspiration from the Alhambra and the Moorish architecture of Andalusia. And there you have it, Blasphemous 2 is already chock full of Andalusian goodness, and we've barely scratched the surface. Again, much thanks to Javier Prado for his thread, and all of the others who have shared their knowledge of Andalusian culture to enrich the community's understanding of the game, and the aspects of Andalusian culture Blasphemous 2 is playing with. My next video is discussing the details of the reveal trailer more broadly, as I consider the gameplay and story details shown off. If you want more Blasphemous content, please give this video a like and subscribe. The vast majority of my content is Elden Ring, and the algorithm knows this. So your support and interactions with these videos truly goes a long way in getting more eyes on my Blasphemous content. Thanks for watching.